To give you all a little bit of background on why we're meeting today. I mean, everybody, obviously, unless you've been living in a cave, you know all the stuff that goes on in our culture. You know, I've been really for several years, ever since Sandy Hook, all of a sudden the light bulb went off and I went, whoa, what if that happens here? And so I just kind of, under the radar, just talked to a few folks here and there, just trying to be kind of prepared. But then when this shooting happened, this latest shooting in Houston at a church, I thought, okay, I mean, this is hitting way too close to home, so we need to be a little more organized, a little more prepared for this. So I began to talk to Scott. Scott Ferrell, most of y'all probably know Scott. Scott's a member of our church and police officer, and I asked Scott if he could give us some training on security and so forth, and he actually approached the chief and got you certified to do this, right?
Yes, sir.
Are we your guinea pigs, class?
Sorry, yes, you are.
So cut him some slack, man.
So either you're my guinea pigs or I'm yours.
So everybody bragged to Chief Stan that he did a great job today. But so anyway, I've been talking with Scott, and so we, you know, we just want to be prepared for any and everything that might come up. We not only have church on Sunday and church on Wednesday nights, but we also have a Mother's Day out that's here 2 days a week, and all female staffed, and the rest are little kids. So I mean, we are a soft target. We are a multiple and soft target. So we just want to be prepared. Scott's going to give us, you know, some details about that. So take it away, Scott.
Thanks, sir. As Jeff said, I'm with the police department. I know most of y'all. I'm sorry, most of you started this morning. It's going to take me a minute or two to kind of put it down. Unlike some officers here, I'm not a public speaker. We'll get through this. At any point during this presentation, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to speak up. This is not just me up here talking. This is interactive. That's my goal. Unfortunately, the way our society is these days, and getting into what has brought us to this point in our society is a whole other issue. What I would like to do today is, Jeff said he was going to invite certain folks in the church that he believed either were licensed carriers, leaders in the church of some sort, Sunday school, Mother's Day Out program, something like that, or people who he thought would benefit from this class. And what my goal is to help y'all, to give y'all information, to help y'all to be, God forbid, if a situation like this ever does happen here, or in your workplace, grocery store, something like that, y'all will be not know just how to react, but also be able to lead other people. Because y'all have seen it as well as I did have. Something happens that people aren't used to, and they freeze. And then they look for, well, I'm getting into my presentation, but they look for how to react by the other people around them. And so hopefully with this training and a little bit of knowledge, y'all can be those that are reacting properly. Okay? And so we're going to start off with, first off, went the right way. This was working 5 minutes ago, I promise.
Can you advance it?
Just because Arnis is new.
Okay, just hit the
Is that cup in the way?
the forward button, arrow, please, sir.
No. There we go.
There you go. You'll notice that during my presentation, I'm not going to mention the names of the shooters. A lot of times, what these guys are looking for is notoriety. They want to make a point, they want to have an effect on something, but they also want to be known. And I don't think they deserve that kind of respect. I think the people that deserve the respect are the victims and their families and the people that live through this, or gave the ultimate sacrifice. They're the ones that need to be remembered. There we go. Did you do that or did I do that? I told you. Awesome. No, We call this elastic craze. It's the civilian response to active shooter events. Law enforcement has been practicing and learning about active shooter events and how we respond to them for years, several years. One thing that is important, though, is how the people that are actually involved in the active shooter event, how they react. Because they're in the middle of it, it's going to take a few minutes for law enforcement to get there. What y'all do in a situation like this can save your life, can save the lives of many others, family members. Now, you'll hear me talk about this, this avoid, deny, and defend program. But I'm going to play about a 12-minute video here. It was created in conjunction with Walmart Corporation. They show it to all of their employees. If you want to play that, Mr.
There's a gunman inside the store. We need help now.
What's going to be the solution by the time we...
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Actually, think it's got an old, look at truck. What we got over here?
We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place up. We need help now.
Issues that we found. Okay, really see what happens. See what's happening.
There's a man with a gun.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what's going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could use to get away from the threat. If you hear something that is, or could be, gunfire, start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside the buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted. A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder. But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together, should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and locking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, you can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use things that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to block or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The government's coming. What are we going to do? We're going to have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In many cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on, near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself. Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts. This will be a complex situation, and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody, keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
For a 12-minute video, that was pretty informative. Kind of gave you an idea of how to react, what you need to be prepared for. And the reason we're meeting here today is because of an active shooter potentially in this building. Again, it's something we pray never happens, but this same type of information can help you regardless of where you are. Okay? And one thing I failed to do a while ago is, I think it's important that we open this up with prayer, and I should have started that at the beginning. If you bow your heads with me, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we are so thankful for the many blessings that you give us every day in our lives. We are in a church where we can worship you however we see fit, whether we sit or kneel or stand, whether we raise our hands or we don't. We are in a church family where we feel your presence every time we gather. And Father, we pray for your presence in this room. We pray for that you will help us receive the message that you have for us today, regardless of what's on paper or on the video. I pray that you will guide my words and my thoughts, that help me be able to express your message for everyone here. Father, we say next to prayer for those folks involved in the shooting in Florida. There are a lot of victims, family members, first responders, a lot of people that are involved in that situation, and not to forget the community at large. I pray that you will bless them and help them through this situation. And Father, we pray for healing in this country. There is such a division in this country in so many different ways. We pray that you will make yourself known and draw people closer to you and help the division be eliminated, and that you will make us a country under God once again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, what we're going to talk about first off is disaster response. Not necessarily specifically active shooters, but how people react in a disaster situation where stress is high, could be a deadly situation, and try to figure out how to overcome those, or at least make the reaction that you feel less severe. So there are 3 stages in a disaster response: denial, deliberation, and decisive moment. Amanda Ripley wrote a book in 2008 called The Unthinkable: Who Survives the Disaster Strikes and Why. She determined that there were these 3 stages: denial, You just don't believe that something's happening. Deliberation, you get past denial, and you're able to start thinking about how to proceed. And then decisive moment, that one moment where, whether it's quickly or it takes a few seconds, but you make a decisive decision to take action, to run, to fight, to whatever you need to do to survive. The first one, denial. Many people admit that they underestimate the severity of the situation. Whether it be a car accident, whether it be a natural disaster, whether it be an active shooter, they are not prepared mentally or emotionally to deal with the stress that is created most of the time instantaneously. So they underestimate the severity, they underestimate the danger to themselves. Back when the World Trade Center, the first World Trade Center attack many years ago happened, they found out that people took time to log off their email or log off their computers. They took time to gather all their belongings and then eventually make their way out of the building. In that situation where an explosive has gone off, what is really important enough to get out with you other than your life? Okay, and so they were denying that something was as serious or as potentially as fatal as it could be. Now, we as humans, if you've never experienced anything like that, we experience what's called normalcy bias. Our brain is basically lazy. In the event of an active shooter, it's easier to believe that someone's shooting off a bunch of fireworks in the middle of Walmart or in the middle of your office building. It's more difficult to understand or accept the fact that someone might be shooting and killing people, which is not something all of us probably have ever done with. So, try to think of this. Say you're at your first dinner party. There are 2 or 3 forks on each side of the plate. There are 2 or 3 spoons, knives, and whatever else you've got. I was not grown up. I was not raised in a situation where I have more than 3 utensils on my okay? And so, my first dinner party, I looked for everyone else to see what they were doing. I used the right fork, and I used the right spoon at the right time. Okay? Use the right glass. I mean, Coke can only go in so many glasses when you're eating supper. And so, we look to see how other people around us are behaving. In the same situation, in the same way in this situation. And so, what we need to do is work on how to get past that denial stage. And I'll show you some ways to do that here in just a minute. The next phase is deliberation. Ridley said that we need to get past the point where our brain is not functioning like we used to. How many of you have ever experienced tunnel vision in a situation? It just automatically happens, right? It's not something that you think of and you make happen. It's something that is instantaneous, and it's because it's a physical reaction because your body is feeling stress and pressure. And so we need to be able to figure out how to get past the denial stage and into deliberation where we can think clearly. And so, in a stressful situation, there are 5 conditions. For most of us, except for me standing up here, we're in the white condition here. About 60 to 90 beats per minute. We're just relaxing, we're watching TV, we're watching football, we're just sitting around talking to folks, okay? Condition yellow, fine motor skills start to deteriorate. Condition red is 120 beats per minute to 150. And condition red, complex motor skills deteriorate, peak physical performance, gross motor skills increase. You're stronger, you're quicker, you can react better. Plus, the body also does something to protect itself in case of injury, it bleeds less. Condition break, cognitive processing deteriorates. This is 150 to 175 beats per minute. Tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, and time dilation. Auditory exclusion, and I've experienced this, whether it be a gunshot or some loud noise goes off right by you, you don't hear it. I mean, if you're at a gun range, for example, and you're shooting with friends and you forget to put your earmuffs on, you're going to hear it when that gun goes off. In a situation like this, when your heart is beating so quickly and you're so stressed out, it may sound like someone snapped their fingers. Okay? That's auditory exclusion. Time dilation, in a situation where there is a traffic accident and you're trapped in a car, 30 seconds that you're waiting for an ambulance or a police to arrive could feel like 5-10 minutes. So, and then condition black, 175 beats or more per minute, system overload, freezing, voiding of bowels and bladder. And that's just a natural reaction when
That's bad, right?
and the older you get, okay, so let's check. I'm not pointing fingers yet. And so, again, these reactions are nothing that we think, okay, I'm gonna have tunnel vision now. I'm not gonna be paying attention to what's going on around me. I'm gonna have tunnel vision so I can see what's directly ahead of me. It doesn't work that way. This is a protective measure that the body takes when you're feeling stressed. Okay? Okay, so deliberation, right now we're sitting with our human brain. It's reflective, it's a thinking brain. It can reason through situations. It's flexible, rational, and slow. Take a deep breath. It's slow, okay? You can think about whatever you want to. Now, the lizard brain, on the other hand, is reflexive. It's a reacting brain. It's fixed. It's emotional and fast, and it just happens. Okay? As your blood pressure goes up, and your beats per minute goes up, that lizard brain starts to take over. And it can be instantaneous. Someone walks in with a door with a gun and starts shooting, it's instantaneous. Now, what we want to do is to maximize the ability to maintain that human brain and get away from or limit the amount of the lizard brain that we use to react with. With the lizard brain, we lose our cognitive abilities. We do one of three things. We fight, flight, or we freeze. And the lizard brain is what we want to avoid. But unfortunately, it's the way our bodies are naturally going to react. It's the default, if you will. So the deliberation, we want to get past, we want to get in from the lizard brain, and we want to have a human thinking, rational ability, thinking brain. And this takes an intentional action. Tony and I have both been in training scenarios where your blood pressure gets up, you're feeling more adrenaline. Who has ever experienced an adrenaline dump? Yeah. My first one was a car chase when I was a young rookie, and we got the guy stopped, and I got up there and I couldn't even talk. And I realized my hands were like this. It was an adrenaline dump. It's the stress, and I had to back off because, and I had to have one of the more senior officers take the guy and arrest him and talk to him because I couldn't even talk as well as I am right now. So it's an intentional act to clear your brain, to be able not to get back to the 60 to 90 beats per minute, but to get to where you're not at 150 or you're about to soil your diaper. Okay? It's getting to where you can think more clearly and react with intent. You're going to be scared. You're not going to know everything that's going on. It could be complete chaos, depending on what the situation is. Again, natural hazard, car accident, you may be completely alone. You may have family with you. You know, some car accidents are so bad that it entraps everyone. And how you can react, okay? You can't be there for your family, you may be in the car, if you can't react logically and rationally. So, one thing that I was taught to do many years ago is you script or you practice. When you're thinking clearly, it's an everyday, you're driving around, you're walking through Walmart, you're sitting at your office at the desk. What if someone came to the door and started shooting? What am I going to do? Well, I know at Walmart, they've got two main doors. They've got an exit at the garden center. They've got an exit at the automotive section. And they've got exits from the warehouse, which most of us won't know where those are, but they've got them. To prepare yourself for such situations, prepare your human brain while you're thinking clearly. That way, when you get to reacting like with a lizard brain, it's more trained on how to prepare or how to react properly. Does that make sense? Without preparing our minds, we are more likely to react with the lizard brain. When the stress gets up there, we're more likely to react incorrectly. Or not react at all. But if we prepare in advance, there have been many times over the years that, especially when I was brand new on patrol, domestic calls were always the most concerning to go to because you didn't know what you were going to get from a couple of brothers fighting, 12-year-olds fighting with a sister or something, or mom and dad fighting to the ultimate someone killing someone. You just didn't know until you got there, regardless of what the call sheet said. And so you played a lot of what ifs. And so, what if I go to this next call and I'm walking up to the door and someone starts shooting? What am I going to do? Am I going to freeze? Am I just going to run down the sidewalk to the next door neighbor's house and take cover? Or am I going to try to find some place where I can respond, whether it be firearms or get more help over there or whatever? I have to think through these situations. And you can do that, and that basically all that is preparing your brain to react when your brain, all your brain wants to do is react. And the more you train and think about what if scenarios, the better off you'll be. The cool thing is that the lizard brain is completely trainable. Just play that audio file, please. Now this is, how many of y'all saw the Tom Hanks movie, Captain Sully? This is the audio between him and the tower.
Cactus 1539, birds to Falls West of Oakland. You're turning back towards the Hawaii.
Okay, you need to return a little way. Turn left heading up 220.
220.
Copy departure, got emergency returning. I believe it's 1529. He bird strike, he lost all engine, he lost the thrust in the engine due to turning immediately.
Cactus 1529, which engines?
He lost thrust in both engines, he said.
Got it.
Cactus 1529. Could you get it, Steve? You want to try to land 113?
491, we may have disaster.
I Cactus 1529, could be left traffic to runway 31.
There one.
Okay, what do you need to land? Cactus 1529, runway 4 is available if you want me to left traffic to runway 4.
Yeah, the runway, what's number 2 on right? Anything in New Jersey, maybe Teterboro?
Okay, you're off your right side at Teterboro Airport. Do you want to try to go to Teterboro?
Yes.
Teterboro, Empire, actually, we're going to park on emergency inbound. Cactus 1529, runway 280, you land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus? Cactus 1549, radar contact is lost. You also got Newark Airport up at 2 o'clock in about 7 miles. Eagle Flight 4718, turn left heading 210.
210, 2718. I think you said he was going into Hudson.
you agree that when he made the decision, he acted, regardless of what the tower was trying to tell him? They weren't up there. They didn't see what he saw. He knew what his abilities were, or the abilities of his plane. So once he made a decision, that's what he went with. It wasn't going back and forth, should I do it, should I not? He made a decision, the best decision that he thought possible for his plane and his passengers, and that's what he did. They saved a lot of lives. So what I'm saying is be decisive in your decisions. Now let's talk specifically about active shooter events. And the research we're going to talk about is going to come from the FBI reports dealing with from 2000 to 2014. The definition of an active shooter is attempted mass murder. They are not someone that it's not a gang issue, it's not a terrorist issue. It could be one or more people actively involved in attempting to commit mass murder. Okay? It's not a robbery gone wrong and they're just going to kill a bunch of people as they go out. Their intent is to go into a particular area, most of the time in a building, and either they may or may not have a particular target, but they're going to take out as many targets as they can as they come across them. Okay? Majority of the time their weapons are firearms, but as we saw in Columbine years ago, they intended on using explosives as well. Is anyone, I don't know if anyone's ever heard or done any research on that or read any research, do you know the reason that those bombs didn't go off, or do you know where they were placed? They had, I believe it was in the cafeteria, the library was up on the second floor, they were on the first floor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Timmy. They had homemade explosive devices, but they went cheap on their timing devices. You know, the clocks you get at home that have the clangers, those annoying clangers, they went cheap. Their guts or mechanisms inside the clock are plastic. It's not a good conductor of electricity. If they had gone for a couple of dollars more for better quality clocks, they would have created explosions that would have toppled those two floors. And so, it has nothing to do with this, it's just, I thought it was interesting. But these guys, again, they may or may not have a particular target. They just feel that they've been wronged in some way, or someone in their family has been wronged. Now, the shooter, the profile of the shooter, there's no profile. It could be any race. It could be anyone from a young age to senior citizen. Majority of the time, they're men, but not all the time. There have been some female active shooters. They're deliberate in their actions. They get to where they're going, and their intent is to kill people, and that's what they are focused on. They're detached. And this is the reason I believe that, you know, we see school shootings, nurseries, things like that, shootings in nurseries. And we think, how can someone do this? How can they shoot kids, high school kids, younger? Because they're detached. They don't see us, they don't see the children as people. They have no priority. They are a target. And they'll shoot every target they see. A lot of times they're bullies, or they've been bullied. Many of themselves killed. Once they're confronted by law enforcement, they kill themselves. And quite often they're going to broadcast. Before the active shooter event, they're going to broadcast something on social media, talking about how they've been wronged by so-and-so business, or my boss, or the school, or someone in their family has been wronged.
Is there any research to how much time goes into an active shooter planning there?
Not that I haven't seen anything.
I was just curious.
No,
because it doesn't seem like one where it's just like immediate, like something made them mad and they go do it. It seems like usually it's...
Right, and from everything I've seen, they build up to it, but I don't think there's a time limit. I think it's something that, for example, the guys at Columbine, I think they were bullied, and And kids that are bullied, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And so they had probably specific targets that they were going after. People that go into places of business, they feel that they've been wronged by their boss many more times than just one time. Or the relationship between them and the boss is so bad, and he feels like, I have nothing else I can do. So it builds up over time. So this calendar is going to show the number of active shooter events that have occurred between 2000 and 2014. The small dot indicates 0 to 4 people were shot. 5 to 9 for the medium dot, and 10 or 10 plus for the big dot. In 14 years, we've had 179 active shooter events in this country. Just from paying attention to the news in the last year, you think that the next 14 years, you think it's going to be as much or more? More. And I'm not going to get into what I think creates an active shooter, what goes on in their minds. You know, I've heard people say, well, they get so desensitized by the games that they play or whatever, you know. The accessibility that they have to weapons, or the mental issues. I don't know. I just know that we need to be prepared. God forbid anything like that ever happens to us, whether it be in the church or somewhere else. Now, the location of the attacks, I think, you know, the majority of the ones that we hear about are at schools, because that's what the media is going to report on. You know, someone's attacking kids. That's horrific. But education is number 2 on the list as far as percentage, the number of percentages that where active shooters actually hit. Number 1 is a little 52% for commerce, jobs, places of business. During that 14-year time period, it was then education, outdoor events, Las Vegas, and then other. And I think churches are in the other category. Does it mean that as a church, it's only 11, 12%? Does that mean that we don't need to be prepared? Of course not. Now, the connection that a shooter would have with the place that they attack. 55% during those 14 years show that the shooter had a connection to the place that they attacked. Whether it be an employee or ex-employee, student or ex-student. We all remember Sutherland Springs back in November. On any given Sunday, the average attendance for that church was 50 people. There were 26 dead and 20 persons killed. And the way that shooter was stopped, I mean, he came out of the church himself, but the way he was stopped and wasn't allowed to go any further is because 2 citizens started chasing him, and I think he ended up killing himself once he backed out. In Fort Hood, 2009, an Army major killed 13 people and 30 injured. And in 1986, Edmond, Oklahoma, there was a post office or facility. It was a single shooter. He was a postal employee. He killed 14 and wounded 6, and he killed himself. And I tell you that one just to identify how long this has been going on. Maybe not to the extent of the next 14 years or so, but for the last 14 years from here, from 2000 on, it's been growing in intensity and frequency. Now, the number of deaths, are a product of two things. How long it takes for police to get to the location, and then target availability. And we train, the police officers train on how to get there quickly and how to react once we're at the scene. But another thing that y'all can have a huge effect on is target availability. How you are able to maintain your human brain, and that human brain, lizard brain, that just seems funny to me, but it's basically the best way I can think of describing it. Human brain, thinking logically and clearly, and getting as many people as you can out. The average response time for a patrol officer to any call in the United States is 3 to 3.5 minutes. That's pretty good, actually. One thing you got to think about, though, we're in Abilene, America. We don't have 50 officers working on the streets at one time. Sunday mornings, this is a pretty large beat. We're on the outskirts of town. If we were in the center of town and we had an active shooter, we had someone call about an active shooter, we could probably expect better than 3-minute response time. But we're on the outskirts of town. The single officer that works this area on a Sunday, could be in this beat. He could be in a bordering beat, answering with a call, eating breakfast. Sunday mornings can be no calls at all. I've worked many of them. And here in the last 5-10 years, when I was still on patrol from time to time, we would get out of break at 6 o'clock and start making call after call after call. That's Sunday morning. A lot of it's fade over from Saturday night, but still it happens. So you never know how many officers are going to be available. So that time that I was talking about a while ago, time dilation, when you think it's taking 20 minutes for an officer to get there and it's taking 30 seconds, you know, that's a real thing. So, civilian response is the reason we're here today. Denial. Get past the denial stage, if that's fireworks, or multiple pallets falling over like we saw in the warehouse at Walmart. It may be muffled, the sound may be muffled, whether it's in a building or a long ways off like in Vegas. I'm sure the rifle shot sounded different than if it was up close. But how reasonable is it to have multiple fireworks or something like that? In Vegas, yeah, maybe so. But start looking at how the people are reacting around you, okay? So get past the denial stage when you hear gunshots and take deliberate action. And what's going to help you to take deliberate action quicker is you train your brain. You train your lizard brain to react and how to react. Did you play the video, please, sir? This young lady is Christina Anderson. She was a student at Virginia Tech when she was in there. Thanks, sir. Go ahead.
Pretty important. This day, I ended up sitting in exactly the same seat I always did, in the back right-hand corner on the right side of the class. What we don't know is at this time, someone is downstairs and he's chaining all 3 doors shut. There's supposed to be desks there. We heard the first gunshots outside in the hallway, and my teacher, she opened the door. She immediately slammed it and she said, "Call 911." And the second that door closed, he walks in. He walks in shooting. There's absolutely no time. He goes to the other side of the classroom by the windows. He's holding 2 guns. He doesn't say anything. He just starts going down the rows of people. It's very quick. It's very loud. It's very scary. We had these very shitty desks. I get on the floor. I put my knees under the chair, my stomach on the seat, hands over head, eyes are closed. As the shots keep going, and it's, like I said, very loud, I can tell it's getting closer and closer. And I'm telling myself, brace yourself, your turn is going to come. Now, I didn't know what that meant. Like, I didn't think I was going to get shot, but I knew that something really serious burnt smell, and it just makes you very, very thirsty. He comes back. Now, this time, the shootings were intermittent. It's slower because he's looking to see who's alive. I remember telling myself to stop breathing because I can feel my stomach hitting that chair, and I'm saying, stop, like, he can see that you're alive. The third and final time, he killed himself in front of our classroom. When the police broke in, the first thing the guy said was, we have a lot of blacks in here. I didn't know what that meant, but when police sweep a crime scene, they have 30 seconds. If you're red, you're critically injured. If you're yellow, you'll live. Black means you're dead. In 9 minutes, he killed 11 of my classmates and my teacher. 32 people lost their lives that day.
So how effective is plain dead, do you think? Not very. I think some people refer to it as hide and hope. There are two problems with hiding and hoping that everything's going to be okay. First one is that things that are made these days in America or anywhere, desks, filing cabinets, anything, they are not heavy enough, 99% of the time, they're going to stop the bullet. They'll go right through the metal or the plastic or whatever the person is shooting at. They can strike you whether he knows you're there or not. The second thing is, if you're found, he walks around the desk, in this case, he walks around the desk and sees you there, where are you going to go? You've eliminated your ability to escape and to get away. So, life becomes the next target. So, deliberation. Avoiding at all costs if you can. If you're far enough away to where you can get away, get out of the building, do it. Deny. Deny him access to where you are or where you and other people are. And then defend yourself. You have the legal right to defend yourself. Who knows what deadly force is? Okay? It is, in a situation like this, people think, well, he's shooting at me. That's deadly force. Well, that's true. But do you have to, before you can take deadly actions on him, do you have to wait for him to actually pull that trigger? Well, you don't. If he points that gun at you or anyone else, you have the right to defend someone else. If he points that gun at someone, you have the right to use the same level of force against them. Okay? So just because he's got a gun, you saw in the video, the Walmart video, you grab your scissors, you grab keys, you grab a hammer, you grab whatever you can use that's handy, and you use it as a weapon. And the spots that you want to go for are something that's going to stop him from his attacks on you or anyone else. The face, the carotid, the groin, anything. I mean, hitting him in an arm with something, it's going to hurt him, but it's not going to stop him. Okay? So you have the legal right to defend yourself and any others with deadly force when someone's using deadly force against you or someone else. Does that make sense? Any questions on that particular issue? Okay. I'm trying not to get off on tangents here. So, this is a...
The technology to notice the social infrastructure you have there, and it's part of the plan we have. Do you want me to play it?
Yes, sir, go ahead. Thank you.
I want to have comments to you, but this will be the first step in that whole process. Everybody in this room. Counter in the room. Please. Sir, did you hear that? He told him to hit the road. Everyone in this room. Everyone else, please. Hey, sir. John's just letting talk. He's talking. John, go ahead. Oh. Yes, Mr. Honor. I believe that when she said that, but what did she do? Go ahead. Mike. Can you just talk to us a little bit? Where does he work at school? No, he's saying no. Oh, I guess you're going to come on. Got out of school safety officer. Come on in. You got a real down there? Come on in. Wait a minute. He probably doesn't have it. Tell me what she did. They're calling the producers. I know that. Part of what? Sir, I don't know what you bring in. Just to stop taxes, okay? You said we don't need no taxes. No, there's plenty of money. Then as soon as you got the school system, then you turned around and said, oh, now we need to have some sales tax again. I said we need to have some sales tax from the very beginning. I can't hang on that. I said that you can deliver the material. I said from the beginning, we have sales tax because equitable way, because everybody pays it, not just property owners. But see, here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want anybody, just listen to me for a minute. I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I've got a feeling that what you want is the cops to come in and kill you because you're mad, because you said you're going to die with it. But why? This isn't worth it. This is a problem. Please no. Please no. Please.
So, that, in 2010, that was a Panama City school board meeting, and the gentleman doing the talking behind the desk was, assuming was the president of the school board. Who's in charge? When someone walks into a room with a gun, who's in charge? You don't argue with a man with a gun. You don't try to take control of the conversation. But back up a little bit. First thing we heard off to the side after when the video was still showing the gentleman talking, the president at the very beginning, you hear spray paint, and he paints a large circle with a V in it. I don't know what that meant, but it meant something to him. Okay, he walked in the room with a gun in his hand, and there were a lot of people. How long did it take for people to snap on it and actually get out of the room? He actually had to tell people, get out. You see someone walking in the room with a gun, whether he's actively shooting someone or pointing at someone, I would leave. I wouldn't worry about your coat. I wouldn't worry about your purse. I would take you and whoever you could get that's next to you, say, let's go. It's time to hit the road. And then it's after that, if you get out of the room, then you call 911. And apparently some security guard or police officer, hopefully not a police officer, came in the room and said, oh, you got a real gun. For example, if you're in a situation like that and you go out and you see when you call 911, or you see an officer, I know our city council, they hire one officer, I believe every time they have a city council meeting. You see an officer out, you see an officer out in the foyer or something, and say, hey, there's a guy with a gun in there. Tell him, what's he look like? Where is he? Give him as much information as you can. Get that rational brain going, okay? Did you see how easily everyone was led? No one got up and left the room, so everyone stayed in their seats. And then some of them got up and they got their coats, and they got their purses or whatever, and then they left. Hopefully, with this class, y'all will not learn what a dangerous situation looks like, but learn how to react quicker than those people do. Okay?
Did you see the woman hit him with the turf?
Yeah, I did. I kind of applauded her actions, just not her weapon choice. So, you know, plus he was probably about her bigger than she was. So it's going to take a big hit.
Why was the woman trying to go out that exit?
Lizard break. You know, I try to get my wife to carry my gun sometimes in her purse. That would make a good weapon. It's kind of heavy. Yes, sir.
So what, if you had been in that situation, what should the people that he was holding behind the desk, what should they have done?
What should the people behind the desk do? You're in charge, sir. Don't argue with them. Don't try to, he was basically, that gentleman is the epitome of a type A personality. He's got to be in charge. He's not in charge. No one got shot, but that's just because that gentleman, and I didn't tell you, I didn't think of this, that gentleman had just been out of the pen recently, released from the pen in Florida. His wife had apparently been fired from the school division, from the school district. I don't know what she did, but he took offense to it. Obviously, he thought that his wife was wrong, and he was going to protect her honor, I guess, or try to get the job back or something. I don't know. But that's why he was there. And so, you see someone walking in the room with a gun, find you in another exit. And that gets to the point that I made a while ago. People go through their entire day not paying attention to what goes on around them, whether they're driving, whether they're going into Walmart, whether they're going to work. They've got their heads down, they're talking on their phone, they're just thinking about what they're going to be doing. Pay attention to the people around you. Pay attention to how you're driving and how people around you are driving. Don't, well, the easiest way to say it is pay attention to your surroundings. Okay?
Question.
Yes, sir.
So in that situation where the woman and gave him the purpose, he turned totally around and placed his attention to her. Wouldn't you think at that point in time, if you're behind the desk, he's giving you an opportunity to tackle him?
Well, first off, First, you got to be mentally prepared that the worst chance I get. Yeah. If you were close enough, yeah. I mean, if you think that guy's a pretty big guy.
Right. Usually when somebody acts, others are involved.
Right. At first it takes, have you ever heard of an OODA loop? Yeah. Okay. And Tony back me up on this. And I started a conversation, I've forgotten what OODA stands for. Observe, orient, basically make a plan, and then act. OODA. And it comes around in circles. So if you do something, someone catches you off guard. You're not ready for it. You've got to observe, realize what you're seeing. You've got to orientate yourself. You've got to accept. You're getting past the denial stage. You're accepting what you're seeing as being a dangerous situation. You've got to decide what you're going to do, and then you've got to act. Okay. A lot of times, what we do as law enforcement is for example, I run search warrants with the narcotics guys. That's what we do a lot of times. In the SWAT team, when they have those flashbangs, they just make a lot of noise and a lot of light. And it's concussion. They throw those in the houses because the person's going to say, "Hey, the cops at my door. They're trying to come in. I'm going to go get a gun, protect myself, protect my dog, or protect whatever." Okay, SWAT team throws a flashbang in there. It's going to reset his OODA loop big time because it's going to prevent him from. He's going to see what's going on. The cops are at his door. He's going to orient himself like, I'm going to go get a gun, but it's going to knock that OODA loop into tomorrow because once that flashbang goes off, his reasoning ability, his thought of what I'm going to do next is cut short. Is stopped. And it gives us about 4 or 5 seconds to make entry in that house and take him into custody safely. It's called, just distracting him or getting rid of the OODA. He's going to have to reset his OODA. Okay? And so, totally lost my track of what question where I was going with. But do what you can do to not to have to reset your OODA. Okay? Someone walks into a room with a gun, get past the denial, go straight to deliberation and decisive actions. Get out. Okay? And one thing I meant to ask earlier, who here is a licensed carrier of a weapon? Okay. One question I've got for y'all, I was going to ask you this at the end of the class, but specifically for you guys that carry weapons. And this is rhetorical questions. Are you proficient enough with your weapon so that when something happens and that lizard brain takes over, are you going to be proficient enough and have enough training with your weapon to where you can put rounds at that bad guy and stop his attack on other people without going all lethal weapon and just putting what you got down? So what does that have? What happens with that? I'm the bad guy. Bystanders. I'm the bad guy. Larry starts shooting me. He's got his lizard brain is in full stride. He pulls his gun and he starts shooting me. You think he's going to hit me? No. He's going to hit everyone behind me and around me. Okay? So if you're licensed to carry, if you are not competent with your weapon, if you don't have the training to maintain a reasonable thought process when you get stressed, I would ask you to do two things. Get that training if you're going to continue to carry that gun. Because why did you get the gun license to begin with? Protect yourself and your family in a stressful situation. And if you don't know how to use it properly and safely in a stressful situation, you become more of a problem for the people around you. Okay? So, avoid the situation. We've already kind of beat that to death already. Know your exits. That's where I was going with a while ago. Be aware of your surroundings. Wherever you're going, Walmart, your office, you don't have to completely change your plan of buying groceries. Just when you're walking around, oh, there's an exit. Oh, there's an exit. Oh, there's a fire extinguisher. It's good to know where fire extinguishers are, right? Who's got experience with those machine, the heart defibrillators? AEDs, thank you. I know how to use one, I just can't figure out what it's called. We've got one at the police station. We've got them in the city buildings. I know how to use them. Who else knows how to use them? Do you know if we have one in this church or do you have one in your office building? It would be good to know where that is. If you have a fire, we don't have one. But I've mentioned it to Jeff and yeah. And so I wouldn't have asked the question and put Jeff on the spot if I didn't know what they were. So, while you're thinking and going through your everyday life, use that human brain to figure out where the fire extinguishers are, where the AEDs are. In case those situations happen, you're stressed off most of the roof, and you've got to react. And you can react properly. Okay? So, is it best to call 911 in the middle of an active shooter event, or after you get away? Get away. Because it's not going to get the cops there any faster to help you in that particular situation. You've got to take action to protect yourself and get away. And then once you're in a safe room, if you can't get out of the building, or if you're out of the building, then call 911. Okay? And again, use that human brain to give the information that the dispatcher needs. We have too many times people calling in the middle of a family fight, get the cops here now! Well, we may have their phone number. If they're calling from a landline, they call 911. It pops up on the dispatcher screen. If they're calling from a cell phone, no. If they're calling on our regular general number, we're not going to know who they are. And we're certainly not going to know what's going on, why they need the police. We're not going to know anything. We'll try to call them back if we've got that number, but you've got to eliminate the quick, reflexive, non-thinking lizard brain as much as you can. So, who knows, let's talk about the first one first. Who knows where the emergency exits are in this church. Okay, so this is the sanctuary. This is the entrance, administrative offices, fellowship hall, kitchen. This is the, we'll see, this is outside the fellowship hall, and this is the main floor. Who knows where the exits are? Okay, could you get to one from anywhere on the first floor? Okay, and now, be honest with me. I mean, there's a door right there that goes out back to the golf course. I know Jeff knows it. That's it. That's his main escape from golf course. So we have, of course, the main entrance there. That used to be one, but it's been closed off. So we have the entrance into the sanctuary. We have that door up there. We have that you can come out of the sanctuary. Depending, for example, if the bad guy comes in here, it goes through that door up there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 exits. Well, 5 exits. Okay?
That upper left of the sanctuary is not an exit.
Right, but it gets to the building,
Yeah,
and
it
puts
goes
a
to
wall
another
between
room,
to where you have an exit to either over here or back through the kitchen. Okay?
Okay, Scott,
Yes,
at
ma'am.
the very other end of the foyer,
Uh-huh.
there's an exit right there.
Right, there's an exit
That
down
door,
there.
yeah, there's a door, but the one that was, there was one closed, but there is still one that will go where those stairs are outside.
All right, here, right, correct. Yeah, I'm just thinking on that. I'm just thinking on a normal Sunday morning,
Right.
Jeff's giving one of his amazing services. And someone comes in this door right here. Okay?
There's one in the kitchen goes out to the golf course.
Yeah, there's one on the north wall of the kitchen too.
Oh, is there up here, sir?
Yeah.
Scott, back to what Cindy was bringing up also, at the end of that corridor, you can go through the cry room from inside the church, go through the cry room,
Right.
and out to the elevator room, and that outside door.
Okay, I guess I asked Jeff.
There's a door there?
There is.
Comes out the back of the crowd.
All those
I'm gonna look.
all those doors on the inside, they're all.
They have the push bars.
It's a commercial.
And so, my question when I was, Jeff and I were talking, is if there was a door here for the prayer room, if it went out, but it does not. But like y'all were saying, it just goes, there's one that goes straight to the floor.
Exactly. Where he's pointing up there where you were. There's a door there?
Yeah. In here?
Well,
No.
cry room, and come to the elevator room,
Yeah, that's, he pointed to the far right of the foyer.
Okay.
and
Far
down
right of
the
the foyer.
outside.
Oh,
Okay.
Right by the stairs there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think I missed.
It's just another way to get out of the sanctuary.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you.
you know, for the next few Sundays, when you're walking around, familiarize yourself with the exits. If you don't know all for sure.
Another one that people might want to know about, just is in that kids area down there
Oh,
by
yeah,
room 115,
Yes,
there's a
ma'am.
back, there's a door.
Yeah, and I didn't know this. How many of y'all know that there's a hallway right here that leads, that all of these rooms right here have access to that back hallway and to either an exit or a more secure door that you can lock and deny an active shooter to you. My only concern is these two right here. They do not have access to those hallways in the back. The only doors in and out they have is those right there that go to the foyer. And what are all these classrooms made of? Glass. So Sunday school leaders, the Mother's Day out leaders, they need to know something goes wrong. They need to get all their kids and get them back to, depending on the age, I don't know if I'd want to get them out of the building, but I certainly want to get them back here where those heavy doors are and lock those doors. I want to know if those doors have locks on them. And whether they open in or out, most of them probably open in.
The prayer room there, Scott, would be a really good secure place because you can lock both the doors and there's no windows really per se. There's a glass door, but it's hard to see in.
Is it big enough for example, if we had to, is it big enough for all the children and the leaders in that one room?
No one's even there.
Yeah, like I said, my only concern is these two right here. Because there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide in those two rooms that you can't be seen from outside the foyer. So, Now, the second floor, where we are, now we're right here, and exits, I mean, the staircase right there, by the elevator, goes down. Elevator right here, not elevator, stairs. The staircase down there, and it goes from the second floor into the hallway, down into the foyer. Now, again, we knew that there's a hallway right here. Right back over there. I didn't until last week. So.
No.
It doesn't go all the way down. It's just the bathroom.
No, it stops.
It stops.
It stops, it goes down the middle.
It's set right there between where it says classrooms. That's the, right there. That's the main hallway. But you're talking about, there's, right there is no, that's not, right there.
Oh, right here.
Right there's a short hallway.
Okay.
We've taken out some walls, so that's an old drawing, but we've taken out some walls.
So, you know, walk around. See where things lead. Be prepared. Okay, in a situation where you're trying to avoid an active shooter, you don't have access to an immediate door to lead outside, consider secondary exits. In a life and death situation, property value is not important. Break out windows. If you're a big old boy like Larry and me, put a chair or something to do some drywall and make you a door. Whatever you need to do, there's property value. There's no value in property. The only thing that is important is your survival and the survival of the people around you. Okay? So, deny. Lock the doors. Lights out. Out of sight. Now, the shooting that just happened in Florida this last week, this is the first time I've heard of someone actually, the bad guy actually shooting through a locked door. So, in the movie, the video that we saw a while ago where the guy got his belt or a strap from a bag and held the door opened up. And he put that strap around the door handle and he held it with all his might and put all his weight into keeping that door shut. Don't stand in front of the door. Okay? There's nothing that says these guys won't shoot through the door. And it's real important to stand on the same side of the room as the door with the door locked and the lights off. He can't see you, and I'll get to it here in a second. But if you are on the opposite side of the room and he somehow is able to get entry into that room, well, let's just say back here is a door. He comes in through this door back here. I'm way over here hiding. How am I going to get to him before he can shoot me to take his gun or anything else? I'm not. I'm just a moving target, hopefully moving target. But if I'm on, say the door's right here, we're all hiding along this wall with the lights out, and he comes through this door, I can grab hold of him and try to grab that gun, try to control it. I go for the gun, keep it pointed away from anyone else around. Put it up in the ceiling or whatever. And then as a group, hopefully you've got more than just you, try to take that gun from him. Okay? That's the fighting part that you need to, the fight or flight part, or freezing, that's the fight part that needs to come out.
Scott, and he was asking a question a while ago about, you know, the lady that took the first to the guy in the school board. I mean, I think her reaction was good initially, but as soon as that happened, everybody should have followed suit.
Right.
I mean, and they probably would have if he would have started shooting her. But I mean, if that scenario happens that Scott's talking about, as soon as he grabs the guy, we all need to be in the fight immediately.
Right.
So I mean, the school board shooting, I think, is a good example of that. I mean, she took some initial actions to try to take him out. She was lucky she didn't get killed, but.
And I think that active shooter event was different than the majority of the ones we see because I think he wanted to be heard.
Yeah. He took hostages. Yeah.
And he took hostages, and his goal wasn't to just make a target out of everyone he saw. Otherwise, if that was the case, he would start shooting as soon as he got in the
Right. Right. Okay. And that's what Jeb was talking about. He said, you know, what would the school board do? I would just keep talking.
Yeah.
Just keep talking. As long as he's not shooting, let's just talk. We're
Right.
going to talk for hours until we'll wear him out talking.
And anything you want, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Don't try to take control of the conversation. Don't ever say, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, your wife's fired, I can't do that. Just say, sir, we'll see what we can do. You know, just keep them talking, because the people that got out are calling the cops.
Do you think most of these guys expect to be confronted, or do you think it would take them, takes them off guard?
No, especially if something happened today, I think I don't think it surprises them.
It doesn't surprise me.
Well, by police, are you talking about civilian or police?
Yes, like if those guys.
I think that would catch
rushed
my
him when he turned his back.
Yeah, I think that would
He
catch
probably
my
wasn't expecting to be confronted.
Yeah, they expect to be confronted by law enforcement after a period of time. But as far as being confronted by the people that are there right then, I think that would catch them off guard.
Which is going back to what you're talking about, throwing off the loop.
Right, and all of y'all here, with the information I've given you, and if you have any questions later on, today, whenever, some Sunday morning, feel free to ask me, or Tony, or anyone else. What I hope to give you guys in this class is the awareness to train that lizard brain to be ready in case something happens. Again, not just active shooters, but you know, anything that any type of stressful situation. So, benign, if that door opens outward, see that thing right there? It controls the door shutting, the hydraulic system controls the door shutting. Wrap a belt or something around those two bars there, and so he can't open it up, and those bars will kind of flatten, they'll spread apart as the door opens. But if those bars can't separate because there's a belt or something around them, then it'll limit his access to that room.
All commercial doors in commercial buildings will open out.
Okay.
That's a fire regulation.
Okay. Well,
unless it's an open.
The heavier the stuff you put in front of that door, the better, the more the better, and the door stops. Okay, just like what we were talking about. That door may open out, but the more stuff that's in his way to give you more of an opportunity to get away or protect yourself somehow. So, again, defend yourself. We've already talked about the rope, the tactical cinch around the hydraulic system on the door. Defend yourself. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about Lieutenant Brian Murphy. He's a lieutenant in Oak Creek, Wisconsin on a Sunday morning back in 2012. He heard a call come out on the police radio about an active shooter at a local temple. From listening to the other officers on the radio, he knew he'd be the first one to arrive. There was a long driveway between the road and the temple. He started driving up that driveway about halfway there or so. He saw who he believed was the shooter, just because of the way they were acting and how they were dressed. He stopped his patrol car at some point that he thought would be beneficial. He gets out. Well, he lost sight of the guy. The guy had been trained in the Army. He knew how to move tactically, and he flanked the lieutenant. He came up behind the lieutenant and shot him and knocked him to the ground. The guy, as the lieutenant was trying to get away, he was crawling and trying to get away. The guy continued to shoot him. At some point during an interview that he gave, he said, "My God, are you ever going to run out of bullets?" And so, at that point, there was a lull in the shooting. The guy was reloading. And he said, "Okay, the next one is going to end me. I'm done." And then he got mad. He said, "I'm not going to do this to my family. I'm not going to leave them like this. I'm not going to go out like this. I'm not going to leave my daughters. I'm not going to leave my wife." And he got mad. And when you get mad, you get motivated. And you get determined. And you start wanting to fight. To fight to survive. Not fight hand to hand. If that's what it takes, yes. But fight to survive. He rolled back over and started crawling away again. He got shot once in the arm. He got shot again in the leg. And he got shot right behind the ear and skull. He got shot a total of 15 times, most of them in the vest. And he survived. After that last shot in the skull, he started hearing the sirens come up. He knew his guys were getting there. That's what stopped the shooter from shooting anymore was the sirens. The guy runs off. His guys come up and get the lieutenant and get him to the hospital. And I tell you this story to tell you this. In training your lizard brain, you don't just train your lizard brain how you're going to react in a stressful situation. Train your lizard brain how you're going to shoot if you're a licensed carrier, that you're going to be under control and your shots are going to be accurate. In a shooting situation, when you're stressful, when the stress goes up, I don't care how good a shot you are, it's been shown that accuracy goes down 70%. So you better be practicing with that gun if you plan on carrying it. I don't care if you plan on never pulling the trigger. If you plan on carrying it and there's a chance you ever have to use it, you better be practicing. But the reason I bring this story up is because he made it a decision long before this day that he wasn't going to give up. He wasn't going to quit. He wasn't going to let his daughters and his wife have to learn that he was killed in a parking lot because he decided, well, the next shot's going to kill me. I'm just going to accept it. He got mad. He just got determined. So in all this training the lizard brain, train your brain that you're not going to give up. You're going to fight and do what you have to do to survive. Okay? So, going down the road, sitting in an office, going to Walmart, play the what if this game happens. What if this happens? I'm going to do this. If I get hurt, then I'm going to fight. Pre-program your mind. You're not helpless. I don't care if you've got, like the lieutenant, 15 bullets in your vest and in your body. Don't give up. It's a mindset. And it's much easier to continue with that and to keep that motivation going if you prepare yourself ahead of time. What you do matters. This training today matters because you're going to be better prepared in any kind of stressful situation where it's a life and death situation and everyone else is sitting down watching the guy paint a big V on the wall. You see what's going on, see he's got a gun in his hand, you get everyone that you can out. As you're going out, everyone you touch, you come across, come on there, let's go. We need to get out of here. So, when the police arrive, who's in charge? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, when the police arrive, like I said, that time that you think it takes from the time it starts to the time it ends, when the police arrive, it may seem like 5-10 minutes. It won't be that long. Hopefully. One exceptional thing I think that our department does is training. Keeping officers up to date in training and training in areas that we need, not just that are required by law to keep our license. Like I said, we have been training in active shooter events for several years, several advanced type or several higher levels of training for active shooters. And in doing that, we also encompass ACUPD. Sometimes I believe Dice Security has been involved once or twice. DPS, Taylor County Sheriff's Department, and constables. So in a situation like this school board shooting, you're not going to just see a blue uniform show up. You're going to see Taylor County, you're going to see all of us show up. And I'm actually dressed up today. When I go to work, I'm in tennis shoes, blue jeans, and t-shirt. But I'm going to have a bulletproof vest on. This is police, and people like me will show up. Okay? So we're all going to come in saying police, police, and we're going to be looking for the bad guy. And I promise you, we will take charge. Priority of work. Our responsibilities are to stop the killing, stop the dying, and evacuate the area. And when we first come in, we're going to stop the killing. And this may sound harsh, but it's just a fact of the way it is. And I'll explain this. When an officer comes into a room, or officers come into a room, he sees 1, 2, 3 people that are shot and bleeding, and they're crying out for help. he's gonna step over them. And he's gonna go down this hallway, because that's where they're saying the shooter went. That's where they're hearing the gunshots coming from. We've got to stop the shooting before we can help anyone. If we stay right here and we help whoever's injured right here, he's gonna continue shooting people down this hallway. Okay? So our priority, number one priority when we first get there is stop the killing. And EMS and the fire department will not come close to this building until we tell them the shooter is stopped and there's no one else. It's safe to come up. And then we and EMS and the fire department will all work on getting people the help they need. You heard that one lady, Christina Anderson, talking about the Virginia Tech shooting. The officers came in and said, we got some blacks in here, we got some reds, we got some yellows. That's accurate. Okay, the fire department and the ambulance personnel are going to tag. They're going to do a quick evaluation of the people that are injured. People that are not seriously injured, people that are possibly bleeding out, people that are dead. They're going to do that and then do kind of a trauma triage, thank you. And that's the most effective way that we can handle the situation. And then we're going to evacuate the area. So, when the police come in, follow their commands. Can you hit the button, please? Hit the forward arrow. Just hit the in. No. Okay, well. There we go. Okay, anyway, y'all got your handouts. And when the police come in, follow their commands. Show them your hands. If you are someone who's a licensed carrier and you've got your gun with you, you hear the officers coming in, there we go. No more. There we go. Show them the palms of your hands. Okay? Do what they tell you to do. If you have a gun in your hand, put it down. Put it down before they come in. Just before they come in, put that gun down. If you help to subdue the bad guy or bad guys, and you've got their guns, put it down. Because when those officers are coming in, guess who looks like the bad guy? Everyone, whether you've got a gun in your hand or not, is a bad guy, because we don't know if I'm the bad guy, I've just shot up the whole place, but I want to look like one of the victims. I'm going to put my gun, I'm going to throw the gun, I'm going to hide it or something, I'm going to go out with everyone else. So everyone is going to be treated the same way. You're handcuffed, or at least you've seen people, the news footage to where people are coming out with their hands up. The one thing that on your body is just going to hurt a police officer is your hands. Regardless of what your weapon, your hands are going to hurt you. So show them your palms. Okay? Follow their orders. If you're handcuffed, go with it. You'll be unhandcuffed soon when they realize that you're not a bad guy. So, and give them as much information. You may not be able to have done anything to subdue the bad guy, but you can be a wealth of information. Okay? Now, we've already discussed EMS and the delay. They don't have body armor, they don't have guns, they're not trained in subduing bad guys. Them or the fire department, they're trained in helping victims. And once we take care of the bad guy, or we all take care of the bad guy, and we determine that he's no longer a threat, then medical folks will come in. One thing that's not generally in the program, but I thought of just specifically for this type of setting, is reuniting parents with their children. How many, something like this happens in our sanctuary, we've got all the kiddos down in the same school and the nursery, what are moms going to be doing? They're going to be freaking out. It's up to y'all to try to keep them calm and reassure them that they will soon be reunited with their kids. Okay? When the officers come in, just I like to call it organized chaos, because that's what it's going to be. So, and it's just going to keep any moms, especially when they start being recognized. So, personal issues at the end of this ordeal. And this last one, developed critical incident stress management plan. That's for corporations and all that stuff. But you as a dad or a mom realize that you, your spouse, your kids, depending on the level of interaction that you'll have with this type of situation. You can expect some kind of real trauma. There's nothing that you can't have to come from. Okay? Just don't ignore it and think, well, they're acting fine. Give them some help. Give them someone to talk to. So, the summary is disaster response psychology. Denial, deliberation, decisive moment. Get out of that denial and go straight to decisive or deliberation. Avoid the bad guy, deny him access to y'all, and defend yourself if you have to. You have the right, legal right to use the same level of force on him that he's been using on everyone else. What you do matters, and don't let the what if. And I know Tony's done it the same way. I thought I was the only cop that did it. But doing some reading and stuff, I realized that cops normally sit in church, in big arenas and things like that, and they look at, okay, what if someone comes in here again? What are we going to do? I do that every week.
That's why I wanted to be here. I wanted all the concealed handgun guys to see me so it doesn't shoot. I've been visiting your church for the last 8 months or so.
We know where you said it was.
Don't shoot Tony. I got a gun. No.
I've been here longer, so I get my seat is saved. You might have to go down.
Y'all too close together.
Yeah. Tony and I went to the academy together. March 1st, we 30 years. And so, very good to it.
All non-members are free game, Tony.
No pressure.
Another movie.
Well, I was going to say, I'm not to finish up. I'm not to finish up.
I'm joining the next
One thing, the last thing I want to say, I think it's the last thing I want to say.
You can join right
The
now.
last thing I want to say is, if you start thinking about this and preparing yourself and for something that hopefully may never happen, don't get yourself sitting in your seat in church, watch it like I do, watching the doors every time someone comes in. And that's just me. But don't let it distract you from the message that God has. Okay? The Satan will use that. Any distraction he's got that will keep you from God's message he has for you on that Sunday morning, you don't want to miss it. So just because you can be alert doesn't mean that you're not paying attention. Are there any questions?
Before we go to question, a couple of things. First of all, the numbering on these sheets is wrong. I know you've noticed that. It was not Scott's fault. I was trying to be helpful and numbered them, but ours prints them down.
Oh, okay.
So they actually go across on the sheets. My bad, I apologize. A couple of things, and then I will leave time for Scott to answer questions. If y'all have thoughts and input about this, I would like to have that about what we've covered today, but also about I've been contemplating whether to approach the board with one alternative that we have is we can employ an off-duty police officer on Sunday mornings just and be in uniform and be walking around. We calculated, I think it's going to be like $5,500 a year if we did that every Sunday.
Yes, minimum of 3 hours.
Yeah, I took your numbers and worked it out for the year, and it's just a little under $55 a year. So if you have thoughts about that, I would like those thoughts. How do you think that, whether that would be appropriate or whatever?
And one thing you can do with that is you can request that the officer bring a patrol car with you and park it right out front of the parking. That's it could be a huge deterrent.
Yeah, and the only, another downside of that is like I said, we have activity during the week too. We have Mother's Day out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's a real soft, vulnerable area for our church. So I mean, we'd be, if we had somebody up here all the time, it would be, very costly. But that's a thought that I've had, and also just here's my thoughts. Some churches, I know some in town that I walk in the front door and they'll have a sign, you can't bring a handgun on site. My thought is that's saying, come get us. I mean, that's the way I see it. come get us. We have no way to protect ourselves here, so just come and get us. And it's really sad, it really is sad that we're even having to have this training. This is where we live in, and you guys are precious, you know? I don't want one single one of y'all to be hurt. And so that's why everybody in our church, and so that's why we're even talking about this. But I encourage you, and with the cautions that Scott has given us, I encourage you, if you have a concealed carry, to carry on Sunday morning. And that's really, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but I would rather us take down a shooter that intends harm for us than one of our people to be injured or hurt. So that's the way I feel about it. If y'all have different thoughts on that, you can voice them now, or me separately, if you got questions for Scott.
One thing I would ask is,
I don't know why that came up.
Jeff mentioned that this is my first time to give this class. If you have critiques for me or something you think I could do better, or questions you have if you think it would be better added into the presentation, please tell me. And you're not going to hurt my feelings. So, except for the fears all the time.
I'll get to that.
So, are there any other questions?
We used to tell people, we used to talk about muscle memory. We did corrections, and we used to talk about muscle memory. But we used to train that nothing is effective unless it becomes reflex. And that takes repetition, whether it's mental, whether it's identifying, but it's not effective. Where am I? You got to come in every time for a while and mentally identify, mentally what if, mentally run through. Or when it goes off, it's not reflex. And now, what do we talk about? You're going to get shook up like everybody else. It doesn't matter how much training you got. You're going to get shook up with it, but like everybody else. But if you've got it as a reflex, bang, this is going to happen. This is what I need to do. Then it's effective. And like I said, just walk in the door like he was training. Mental. Where's those exits? What side am I sitting? Well, it looks like there's more people on this side this Sunday. Then next, I want to know it's equally distributed. What if? What if? We used to train what if. And I used to ask guys, how many of y'all been through the military? Did y'all just get trained on something once or twice and then just said, okay, we're done? You trained till you were physically sick of it, didn't you? Why? Why? Reflex. Reflex. Reflex.
I'm a firm, huge believer in you train the way you want to react in real life. I'm sure several of us in here have done it, especially in the military.
If you have a concealed carry, you are practicing with your gun, but is there a way to practice at a higher anxiety level? Is there a way that you can practice that? Because I can shoot normal, like you said, my accuracy is really good, I feel pretty confident, but with a raised anxiety, I probably am not as good. So, of course, yeah,
that's it, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, there are several people in town that do the concealed, or the licensing classes, but no one does any kind of advanced classes. And I don't know if they even offer them in Dallas or anything like that. I'm sorry? Taylor? Well, I wish we've got a few gun ranges here in town, and we've got an indoor gun range. I'm going to talk to James Hill, the owner, and see if he can develop something, because they put on those licensing exams. One of the things that scares me just as much as an active shooter is someone that's got a gun and says, and the reason they got the gun license is because it's cool to carry a gun. Well, you know what? It's not that cool. I've been doing it for 30 years, and there have been times I've put it in my wife's purse and let her carry it. The sucker gets to be heavy and gets to be a pain. For probably 15 years, I didn't carry one with me just because we lived in a little bitty island in Texas, and I would never need one. But the last 10 years, I started carrying just about everywhere I go. And so Jeff asked me about a year ago, and he said, do you carry when you're in church? I said, yeah, about 95% of the time, 75%, somewhere in there. He said, did you make it 100%? I was like, yeah. So
they sit by me.
I noticed that you sit on his side.
about it. If a shooter comes in, I want y'all to form a circular protective barrier around me. Okay? Everybody just
Circular protective barrier behind you?
What I'm saying is, one thing that scares me potentially just as much as someone that doesn't have the training. They pass their licensing exam with a laser and by the skin of their teeth. They have no training in how to handle it, construction situation much less, and just going out to a range and shoot. Yes, sir.
Scott, one thing that has crossed my mind here, and you mentioned it early on in the presentation, maybe you might want to repeat it at the end too, is present time consciousness, and all of us would do that, regardless of a parent or not, is keep your head out of your phone as you're entering the parking lot. Head up and looking around. It help a lot. You can see people who you don't recognize. You can see if they're pacing or agitated. It may be someone who needs help. But if you just poke your head up instead of looking down, look what's around you.